Greetings, fellow Earthlings. My name is Zach,
And I'm Jessica.
and this is
High Level Hairesy.
Question everything. Without the question, how can you have the answer? Wisdom comes from within. This is High Level Hairesy.
Have you ever watched an old movie, an old episode of The Simpsons, The X-Files, or Black Mirror and thought, wait a minute, how did they know? How did a TV show from 20 years ago show us technology, disasters, surveillance, pandemics, fake news, digital identity, social credit systems, AI companions, drone warfare, celebrity cloning, or alien disclosure before any of those conversations became normal? Maybe it's just good writing. Maybe artists are intuitive. Maybe Hollywood studies the patterns before the rest of us do.
Or maybe, and this is where maybe it gets a little weird, but maybe we've been watching trailers for reality itself. Join us today as we ask the question, am I being programmed? Revelation of method and predictive programming in our entertainment. So this is the idea that power reveals its plans symbolically before they happen, and that entertainment may be used to normalize, desensitize, and even spiritually authorize the future. So before we get into all the goods, let's take our breath together to get on the same page and the same wavelength. Inhale will be your 1, followed by 2, 3, 4. And then you'll have your nice, juicy exhale. If you can, go ahead. And if you can audibly sigh it out, that will just increase the benefit to your body. So here we go. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. That feels so good.
Always.
Okay, Zach. So what are we actually talking about when we say, what is the revelation of method and what is predictive programming? Let's get into that.
Let's have some fun. All
We
right,
always
so
have fun.
revelation of method is the idea that hidden power structures reveal what they're doing or plan to do through symbols, jokes, art, ceremonies, movies, music videos, anything public spectacle like that. The darker theory says that they reveal it not to warn us, but to mock us, almost like saying, we showed you, you didn't object, therefore you consented. So that is karmic law at its most basic. So that would be part of the revelation of method would be the karmic side of things. Is that
So we showed you, you consented by watching and accepting.
right? So that's why you hear people like ourselves say, they put things like this all throughout our movies and our TV shows and music, and all this thing is, a lot of it is for karmic reasons. So in their mind, well, they know karma is like a real universal law. And so they're kind of, it's almost like they think they have like a loophole, where it's like, oh, well, we told you, we showed you, and you still went along with it. So it's not on us, it's on you. So in esoteric thinking, symbols matter. And I just want to reiterate that to anybody and everybody, that symbols do matter. So what you might think is a benign symbol, it matters. And I'm talking even down to like the logos of companies. I've done some little bit of deep diving into that, and you will start to see patterns with a lot of them. And
give us some examples of some of the logos.
I mean, a lot of them have Saturn
The ring.
in the logos, the rings.
Mhm.
So you've literally got a car company called Saturn. And then who else? Nike, the symbol is actually one of the rings. It's just not the entire ring. It's like the side of it.
So you're saying the Nike swoosh is half of a part of the ring of Saturn?
Yes. And I don't want to get too far off of this because
Okay, so
symbols
maybe
do matter,
we do
but
another episode on symbology.
we should do that because it's pretty interesting when you start to see a lot of these companies have the same type of symbols.
Mhm.
And then we can get more into Saturn and the history of that and who and what Saturn was,
Mm-hmm.
and what it equates to. But that's a whole nother conversation.
Right. So
I just wanted to reiterate, symbols do matter.
and they're
And
throughout our entertainment
everything.
and
And it's not just logos of companies. It's in the news. So some of you maybe have noticed before certain numbers that pop up all the time in news stories. 33, 47, 12, 322. A lot of these numbers pop up all the time on news channels, in news articles, especially surrounding major events, especially like the traumatic ones, which seem to happen all the time now.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so disclosure matters, consent matters, intention matters, symbols matter. So if someone believes in universal law, karmic balance, or ritual order, then the act of revealing the plan becomes part of the ritual itself. So that would be, in a nutshell, revelation of method is they have to tell you before they do it.
Mm-hmm.
So whether you believe the elites literally have to tell us for karmic reasons, or whether you see it more psychologically as a power flex, the effect is similar. The public is exposed to the idea before the real world version arrives. So there's revelation of method. And then predictive programming, that is more on the psychological end of things. I would say revelation of method is probably more of the spiritual / esoteric side of this.
Mm-hmm.
Predictive programming is more of the psychological side. And we'll get more into more of the psychology and everything behind this as well. But predictive programming is the theory that media introduces future events, technologies, or social changes in fictional form so that the public becomes familiar with them before they happen. So they're priming us. They're priming the public for various different things. One definition often associated with Alan Watt describes it as a form of psychological conditioning that acquaints the public with planned social changes so that they later seem natural or inevitable.
Because, we've seen this before.
Yeah,
So.
and in your mind, it's almost probably something you don't even necessarily realize at first. It's that it's just normal because you've already seen it.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not saying every sci-fi writer is sitting in a basement, with a handbook on the elites and the globalists. Some writers are just brilliant observers, but predictive programming still asks, what happens when the same themes appear again and again across decades of media? No matter what you think of this, that is still true.
That is still true. And we're going to give a plethora of examples, just rapid fire examples of different movies and books that have shown us the same themes over and over throughout our entertainment history, really.
Yeah, we just want to show you the sheer amount. And this is not the entire list of all of them. This is just showing you how many there really are out there in all of our entertainment.
And really, aside from, the definitions of these things, it still stands true. Like garbage in, garbage out. What you consume is very important. That's one reason that this is no judgment towards anything. This is my own personal take on things. But I don't like to watch horror movies with people being murdered. And I don't like to really listen or watch anything about true crimes and the darkness surrounding that. And it's interesting, and the maybe journalistic detective mystery portion of it I can get on board with that.
Criminal psychology is very
yes,
interesting.
and I definitely get into that because really there's a pattern.
Yeah.
There's absolutely, and really you can't look into any of that without looking at the psychology behind. Everything is a psyop, okay? Everything. It all comes down to psychology. Like marketing comes down to psychology. Propaganda comes down to psychology.
Mm-hmm.
What we're talking about comes down to psychology. The way your kid acts, the behaviors comes down to psychology. And the way our relationships, and then all of these things feed into that. But so let's talk about the psychology behind it and why this works.
Mm-hmm.
So the etymology of the word entertainment, I was actually, when I heard this a couple years ago, my mind was blown and I was excited to share it. The etymology, the breakdown of the word entertainment. Okay. So it's Latin. Enter is the Latin, that means inside. Tain is to grasp, to hold, to possess, occupy, or control. And ment means the mind. Okay, you can look this up. So inside, possess, occupy, or control the mind. And nothing is by accident. Those symbols, like
spelling. That's why we call it spelling, because words matter.
So the psychology, the mirror exposure effect. So there's psychologist and scientist Robert Zajonc. Robert, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. You're brilliant. He first identified the mirror exposure effect, and that says that people tend to become more comfortable with things simply because they've seen them repeatedly. So repeated exposure creates familiarity, and familiarity often feels safer than the unknown. And you can go ahead.
Can I just real quick?
Mm-hmm.
We all know a very recent example of the mirror exposure effect, where people become more comfortable with things because they keep seeing them repeatedly. What happened about 6 years ago? Throughout the pandemic, we were repeated over and over again the same things of 6 feet, 6 feet, masks, stay inside, stay inside, stay inside. And it just was repeated over and over and over again to where it literally just became normal life for all of us for a while. I just, that popped up in my head that's a very recent example of something like that, where, and that's not the only, there's plenty of things with the agenda and the narrative where they will repeat things over and over and over and over again on the news, like that clip where it shows all of the news stations reading from the same exact script.
Mm-hmm.
It's just over and over again to where eventually you're going to be comfortable with it. So I just wanted to.
Acceptance.
Yep.
Like a bunch of docile cows off to their slaughter.
Sheeple.
So also, like the exposure effect, facial recognition used to seem like something far out there, and now our phones unlock by looking at us, and we're like, oh, you know, actually, even though it's just the smallest little thing, but I do not have my facial recognition turned on. I still archaically enter my password because I just can't. I don't know. There's certain things. It makes me think a lot of times that at some point there's going to be those that did and those that did not, for whatever that is. And I'm probably going to be in those that did not. And, you know, I fantasize about living so much more simply. And so if I have to enter my password instead of letting my face just recognize, and you know what? It is a little more inconvenient. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes when I want to just share a quick pic And then it's like, oh, wait, enter your password. And then I've got to hit the share button again. Oh my gosh. And
It used to be the
used-
the Touch ID. It used to be on the home button
yeah. And
where you'd use your
for
thumb.
for some reason, I felt a little safer with that, even though it's my
Your
fingerprint.
Our phones are taking pictures and all that kind of stuff all throughout the day, whether you use Face ID or not.
I know. And that's the thing. It's literally, I know it's not really doing anything. It's just my own little mindset. I digress. So, okay. So that's one of the deals. Like, okay, you've seen it. Like it used to be, if you saw somebody with a tattoo, like years ago, you would have been like,
That
oh
dude
my God.
killed somebody.
Or something, you would have some
that
kind
man
of,
is a criminal.
you would have some kind of judge a book by its cover judgment. But now that's just old hat.
Now you got doctors that have
Doctors
full
with
sleeves.
full sleeves.
Police officers.
I've
I
been
see
in
police officers with tattoos all
the courtroom
the time.
and
Yep.
a lot of the people that work in the courtroom. And I'm like, wow, okay, cool.
All right. So media priming is the next one we're going to talk about. That means that exposure to certain images, stories, or concepts can activate related thoughts in the mind and influence how people interpret later events. So if every alien movie is showing humanity uniting under a global military response, then when real disclosure language starts showing up, the mind already has a script: threat, fear, emergency, unity, centralized authority. So there's a few interesting quotes I have about media and control. One of them, the first one, comes from Jim Morrison, the late great singer of The Doors. He, at one point, said, "Whoever controls the media controls the mind." And I'm sure there are other great minds and thinkers that said something along the same lines, but he was a very famous example of somebody coming out and saying that.
I mean, look, it's called programming and television. And like we've talked about before, with trauma, the brain doesn't recognize the difference between like watching it on TV and actually experiencing it, which is another reason that I don't like to watch stuff like that, gory stuff, or people being harmed, or things that I'm going to have people being shot on live television, or not live, but repeatedly watching someone, because
which is also something that happens now. A lot of the things that float around on social media, like all the, shootings and, that chick getting stabbed on the train, and then
Charlie Kirk
shooting. Is all of these things are now things that they never would have shown anywhere on TV, even just 10 years ago. And now it's just floating around everywhere. That's a good example of like desensitization too.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick too, I just wanted something that popped up in my head. We were breaking down words. So the word media.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's pronounced slightly differently, but it is off by one letter. Do you know the goddess? I think it's pronounced Medea. It actually might be media though. So Medea. She was a Greek goddess. So she was the goddess of pharmakia, which we've talked about the word pharmakia before, which was sorcery, which is in the Bible about how all the nations will be deceived by thy sorceries. Well, the word for that was pharmakia, or pharmakia, I think is what it was. But she was just interesting word, media, sorcery, it's just an interesting little play there that I was thinking of earlier about media. Okay. So the next quote I'm going to read off is from July 1956. So it does have the word communist in it. I just want to reiterate that this was the beginning of the Cold War. This was hot and heavy topic all over the world. But whenever I say the word communist, just for today, for modern day interpretation, just replace that with the word elites.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so this is a quote from U.S. Congressman Francis E. Walter of Pennsylvania. He was the chair of the House Un-American Activities Committee from July 1956. He said, the communists know that movie screens and television channels are weapons of far greater potential power than any of the nuclear devices whose secrets we guard so jealously. Control of the media of communication and information means the control of the mind. And for the communists, this would mean a victory of far greater importance than victory on a dozen battlefields of war. So there's a very good example of one of our own government officials talking about, you know, the media. Whoever controls the media controls the mind.
Mm-hmm. And don't you find it interesting that all major media is owned by 6 companies?
6. And in 1983, 90% of media outlets were controlled by 50 different companies. So it went from 50 companies owning the majority of all the media outlets to 6 today. Who are those 6?
So we've got Comcast, Walt Disney, Warner Brothers, Discovery, Paramount, Skydance, Sony, and Daddy Bezos, Amazon.
So those 6, they call them the big 6. They own everything, all of the media that you watch and enjoy on all the streaming platforms, all the movies, all of that is all owned by those companies, those 6 companies. It's crazy.
So then when you actually look at, you go further up and who owns those,
everything? Who owns those companies?
Which,
that goes,
but it's just, it keeps
BlackRock
going
and State
up
Street
and up and up to and that's who we mean. And like we did mention the news anchors. I'm going to bring that up one more time because that was so another mind-blowing thing to me was all over the nation, state after state after state, they were repeating
all these local
same
news
thing.
channels.
And, you know, I can get reporting on the same story, but why are you saying the exact same script? And where did it come from? And I mean, news is one of the biggest feed the narrative.
Oh, absolutely. And you have all the different sides. You've got your left leaning and right leaning and all of that. I mean, it's just a huge propaganda machine, and it's not the healthiest thing to just be watching the news all the time.
So that leads into cultivation theory, which was developed by George Gerbner. And he argues that long-term exposure to media can shape people's perception of reality. So if you have heavy media exposure, it can make certain themes feel more common, more normal, or more inevitable than they actually are. Because if you think, I mean, okay, put some blinders on. You got a horse and it's got blinders on, and then it's only being shown the one thing in front of it, and that's all it sees. And it sees this and only this, or a limited scope. It can turn its head and see a few other things, but that is also known. That is going to, and you don't take off those blinders and see behind the scenes, like you're going to have a very limited scope and perception of what reality is, or that's just the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the way it is.
Shout out Bruce Hornsby.
So entertainment doesn't just entertain, it trains the imagination. And remember, entertainment, what that means, inside controlling the mind, or controlling the mind, the inside mind, however you want to view it. Either way, it doesn't feel good. So whoever trains the imagination has influence over what the public can accept.
Which leads right into what they call the availability heuristic. So the availability heuristic is the mental shortcut where people judge how likely something is based on how easily examples come to mind. And how does that example come to mind so easily? It's through what you were just talking about, which is cultivation theory and media priming and all of that stuff. That's how you're going to have so they're giving you all of the examples. They are using psychology. Like we said earlier, this all comes down to psychology at the end of the day. They are utilizing all of this so that then availability heuristic, the mental shortcut where people judge how likely something is based on how easily the examples come to their mind. So if your brain has seen 50 versions of a pandemic movie or an alien invasion movie or a digital ID movie or a surveillance state movie, any of those kinds of movies, then when the real world version happens, your mind already has a reference file to go to.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately you're going to, it becomes almost like a bias.
And it's like, oh, I've seen that before. Because like we said, the brain doesn't really know the difference
between,
reality, because it, like you said, it has a file for it. So it goes back because your mind is like a computer.
Right.
And then it's a subconscious, that I've seen this before.
It's coming out to speak of the mind, and this goes along with everything that we're talking about, but it's in psychology. They've come out finally and like said, a lot of us have known this already, but they've already come out and said finally in the peer-reviewed papers and everything that your mind doesn't know when when you're bullshitting. I mean, we already knew that your mind, thoughts become things. What you tell yourself, if you say I'm sick all the time or something, then you're just going to be sick all the time. Like we've talked about that in previous episodes, but they're finally coming out in like the official channels
Mm-hmm.
of mainstream channels of psychology in the medical world, that your mind doesn't know when you're bullshitting.
Mm-hmm.
So
even if you don't think that you're amazing, stand in front of the mirror and tell yourself, I'm amazing. And pretty soon your mind will catch up.
Yeah, exactly. So I just
doesn't know that you're bullshitting.
So that was just a quick,
Mm-hmm.
add to that. So then I think this leads into
desensitization,
which is yet another massive part of all of this.
And so, okay, what was that What was that show? I never remember the name because I just blocked it from my mind. But it was was it Korea or Japan?
Oh,
Squid Games. Squid Games.
It was Squid Games.
Squid Games.
I think it was Korea or China.
Okay.
It wasn't Japan.
Well, okay. That is the show that I was trying to recollect. And something like really dissuaded me from watching that show. My spirit was like, don't watch that. And people would talk about it. It was kind of a thing for a minute. And like my clients would talk about it. And I literally heard them say, well, yeah, the first few episodes, it's pretty jarring, like, because you're just seeing people get brutally killed. And then after a few episodes, you get used to it. You get used to it. Like, that is called desensitization.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're shown things like, even in video games, people being just shot up and, war and violence and human life. What's that other game? Again, these are all my own personal things. No judgment for anyone that partakes in them. But Grand Theft Auto, I guess it gives you an outlet to have some kind of like that Purge movie where you're given an allotment of time to like live out your like dark inner tragicness. But it's like, I don't know. The desensitization, I think that is so major. Like, what is the message and what's being put out? And, the first time people see a disturbing future, they reject it. Or like she said, the first few times I see it, it's like, startling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then the 10th time they debate it. The 15th time they meme it. The 100th time they buy the app. And then, you know, you're looking at participating essentially, at that point.
It's the boiling frog.
And
where you just slowly turn up the heat and it doesn't realize until it's too late.
And I think personally, that, the more violence you see in movies and things of that nature, entertainment and the lyrics of songs that desensitize you to, sexual things and movies, just in the entertainment in general, I guess, spanning all of it. Then that includes anything you're ingesting, what you're reading, what you're looking at, what you're listening to. You're taking that in and it is becoming a part of your being. And quote, they know that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing, as we've talked about, your thoughts become things. What you think about, you bring about. That's the law of attraction. And they know that as well. And all of this works because of that. And then, like I said, we'll give you we're about to launch into a lot of these examples. So, predictive programming, The Simpsons.
Yep. That's a huge one.
It's so funny when I think about The Simpsons. Like when I watch it, if I've watched any episodes in the last few years, and I'm like, okay, I see why my mom didn't really want me to watch this when I was in the 90s, when I was growing up. And
I wasn't supposed to be watching it either. My mom didn't like it, but my dad loved it. So I watched it with him.
So it's one of the most famous examples because it predicted so many cultural and political events that it became a part of the show's mythology. Like a lot of people
now it's
recognize.
Common knowledge.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a meme now, that because as time has gone by, people have realized, because this show has been on since early 90s, maybe even before that. This show's been on for 35 years ish. So there's so many different, and people have realized over the years how many different. We're not going to go over every single one, but I'm going to rapid fire a few of the bigger ones. What's that?
89.
It was 89. I knew it was right around the time I was born.
Yep.
So 37 years this show has been, and it's still on TV. It's crazy. It is one of the longest running.
Are they still creating new episodes?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
Wow.
So I'm going to rapid fire a few of the bigger ones, especially some of the ones that are more like recent things. So the big one a lot of people have talked about for years now is the Trump presidency. So this is in the year 2000, there's an episode called Bark to the Future. So his sister Lisa becomes president after a fictional Trump presidency. And let me just reiterate, Donald Trump was the president. It wasn't some dude that looked like him. It was Trump as president in this episode. So one of the writers, Dan Graney, later said that it was intended as a warning about America going insane, not that it was a supernatural prophecy. He might be right. He might not be right. Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But it is very odd that predicted it. When did he become president the first time? Was it 2016, I think? Yeah. So 16 years prior to him being president. Crazy. So that's a big one.
When did he do his reality show?
The Apprentice?
Yeah.
That was, I think it started I was in high school when it started, I think. So 2004, maybe up through 2010, 2011, maybe even later. So yeah. And gosh, that's so crazy to think about. Okay. The next one I'll bring up, Disney buying Fox. So the Simpsons showed a sign in the beginning of the episode that says 20th Century Fox. It said 20th Century Fox, a division of Walt Disney Company, years before the real acquisition of 21st Century Fox by Disney. So that happened. It was 2019 that Disney bought Fox. This episode on The Simpsons was in 1998. So long time before that.
Maybe they were acting as if and like, putting it out there so that they could create it.
Yeah, manifestation. So the next one I'll bring up, this isn't a specific episode. This is more, there's a lot of episodes, older episodes that feature technology that resemble smartwatches, video calling or FaceTiming, and autocorrect like problems before those became everyday tools. So Time listed these among the show's uncanny examples, while noting that the creators often credit sharp satire, history, and probability rather than prophecy.
Whatever, dude. Like, no,
What an
it's
odd
trying
thing
to
to
bring
say.
it into existence, because then when you have the collective consciousness all recognizing the same thing, it brings it into existence more readily.
It does. It does. So the last one I'll bring up, again, this isn't a specific episode. This is just specific examples throughout the show. So the Higgs boson, which is the God particle, they talked about that before that was discovered. But I mean, it wasn't called the Higgs boson, obviously, at that point. Ebola.
I remember that episode.
Yep. NSA surveillance. There was multiple episodes where they're making fun of that, but it's like stuff that's happening today and the way that they're surveilling all of us today. They were talking about NSA surveillance pre-Patriot Act, so pre 9/11.
And if you make fun of something and you make it a joke, then when you talk about it in real life, like, this is actually happening, everybody just wants to laugh at it.
Right.
That's just entertainment.
They're just mocking it. It's mocking it. And then the last one is, there is an episode where they show Lady Gaga doing the Super Bowl long before she did the Super Bowl. So that one doesn't really like prove much, but it's just yet another prediction that ended up coming true. So, The Simpsons, it's a perfect case study, because the skeptics can say that, oh, well, they've made hundreds of episodes. Of course, some things will line up. But then believers are going to say, okay, but why do so many things line up? That's where it really comes in. So it doesn't matter if you're a skeptic or if you don't think this is it. The simple truth is that so many things, the sheer number of things lining up is crazy. So at what point does satire become prophecy? And at what point does prophecy become programming? All right, so that's
okay.
Those are some good stuff from The Simpsons, but let's talk about another really, really good show that's a little bit even more modern.
Black Mirror. I love this show, and I always watch it with eyes, like, as if, like, okay, what are they telling me? What are they showing us in this?
What are they putting in this one?
Yeah, like, what
is it
What
today?
is the revelation of method? And there are so many cell phone episodes where something in our phone, or, okay, let me just ask, show of hands, how many of you have ever fully read the user agreement when you are getting a new phone, signing up, and then, like, just all of that? Well, or is it just like, well, you know what? I need the phone. So, yep. Okay. I agree. And we don't actually know everything that's in there, aside from the fact that a lot of it says that they own all the shit in your phone. But that one episode, it's like the phone starts basically controlling her life. Like the phone is like, blackmailing her to get her to do certain things because of all the information. But it's showing, it basically gets down to the point of you agreed to this in the user agreement. And one thing that I find very interesting, I have never looked at this. I've never researched it further. It's just this feeling that I have that there's something in there that connects. The electromagnetic frequencies of our phone connect with the electromagnetic frequencies of our body. And I mean, if you haven't had an experience where you were alone, you just thought of something. You just thought of something. And then all of a sudden, like I'm going to give you, I was looking in the mirror actually, and I was like, oh, just thinking to myself, because I'm in there alone and I'm looking at my arms, and I was like, maybe I should do some push-ups, get some arm workouts going on. And then like the next thing I know, in a little bit, my algorithm is filled with arm workouts. And then another one, I saw this vehicle. My phone was in my pocket, nowhere out. And I saw this car, this SUV, and I'm like, ooh, that's a nice looking SUV. And I looked to see it's a Cadillac. I'm like, okay, yep. And then that evening, like I think I might have looked at a YouTube video or something, and there was an ad for, guess what? A black Cadillac SUV, same exact car that I had seen, but not shared with anyone. I've had so many clients tell me stories of that same kind of thing. Anyway, that's a whole nother topic, but basically Black Mirror is telling you
That's what they're doing.
that's what they're doing. And so, a few of those, it's the cleanest modern example because the show was literally built around near future technology becoming psychologically, socially, and spiritually destructive. Academic commentary describes Black Mirror. They describe it less as a show only about technology and more as a show about what technology reveals in human nature. And it's pretty profound, actually. It reminds me a lot of, it's a modern day Twilight Zone.
That's what I've said for a while. It's total modern day Twilight Zone for sure.
And then, like it said, that near future technology. And that was something that I recognized when we first started watching the show, is that and now what's even more crazy, we watched an episode the other night to refresh our memory. And it's like this show was made, what was it, 13 years ago? That one was made 13 years ago.
2013, I think. Yeah.
And then you end up we have the technology that it's showing 13 years ago. Now we're seeing the technology. The thing I want to know is, in Back to the Future, when their hoverboards, okay, why don't we have those yet?
The year in that was
2015.
15?
Yeah, I'm
when,
pretty
supposedly
positive.
when they come to the future and
Yeah.
he's got the hoverboards and those cool Nikes and all the flying cars. That was supposed to be 2015. What happened?
So anyway, but okay, so one of the first examples, Nosedive. It's social credit and reputation scores. So the episode shows a society where people rate each other constantly. Does that sound familiar?
Social credit score.
And those ratings affect status, opportunity, housing, and social mobility. So if you don't have good scores, you're not going to get accepted in certain places.
In the episode, they're just constantly, everybody's got their phone out, and it causes people to be fake.
Yes.
It causes, because they want to have the best score possible so that they can have the best chance in life at stuff. And so everybody's got their phone.
And they're like,
and they just swipe it.
Yes.
Swipe it up.
Thank you. And they're like, oh, okay, 2 points. Oh, I love your dress. Oh, 10 points. Oh, and the way they treat you at a coffee place. So then this chick, she starts derailing and people are like taking points away from her.
Down.
And now her social standing, now she can't even be allowed to go to the wedding she was supposed to go to, or actually she ends up going and breaking down. And it's bananas because it's like, we already live in soft social credit systems
Mhm.
with Uber ratings,
Yep.
Airbnb ratings, credit scores, social media verification, influencer metrics, online reputation, cancel culture, and algorithmic visibility.
Yep.
You know, it's wild. And you do, you know, like business ratings, you know, well, I tell people, hey, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. But it does beg the question, do we need an official social credit score if everyone already self-polices for likes, reviews, and digital approval? You know, is it Japan that is actually, or China?
It's China. They've been doing a social credit score for a few years now. It's not
But after that episode,
Yeah, it's not exactly like that where everybody's literally just got their phone out all the time and they're doing that. I mean, obviously some of that's exaggerated, but yes, they're the first country to like roll out those types of policies.
So then we have the entire history of you, which is memory recording. This episode imagines implanted technology that records everything you see and lets you replay memories. So the real world parallels here: body cams, ring cameras, smartphones, life logging, cloud photos, AI search through personal data, wearable recording devices.
Everybody's wearing those Ray-Ban glasses now. A lot of barbers use them in barber videos, which it's very helpful in that instance if you're wanting to get video of yourself working, like a POV, point of view video. But a lot of people are using those glasses now.
Man, it's just more and more they live. Okay. Then, you know, we just think we used to remember life and now we just archive it.
All of my pictures are in my phone.
So the next, Be Right Back, AI versions of dead loved ones. This is the one we just watched. And the episode shows someone using a digital reconstruction of a deceased partner. And they end up, you know, it first starts as a chat bot. It's an AI chatbot trained on she loses her husband, and somebody signs her up, and then she's like, no, no, no. And all of a sudden she's just in a moment of grief, and she's like, okay, let me talk to this. And it's like, it can help you heal. And then it, you know, fast forward, and it's like, well, there is another level of this. You can, you know, it skips like video chat and goes straight to, here's this humanoid body, and you put it in a bathtub and animate it, and all of my digital things that I've found from
all of his online presence. Is what it pulls from.
Yeah. Which those photos that people put in, you know, the AI, and then it spits out your personality in a photo. It's like, that's, you know, it's pulling a lot of information.
Yep.
And so that's the real world parallels. AI chatbots trained on someone's texts, voice cloning, grief tech, digital avatars of the dead. And do you think that if I died, you might be persuaded to?
Absolutely not.
You don't want an AI version of me? But see, that's the thing.
No.
That's the thing. She's like, no, he would have argued with me and you're just doing whatever I want. And he's like, well, you, on social media, you only put your best foot forward. So all I know is to be agreeable.
There's only
and
flattering pictures.
There's only flattering pictures. You tend to delete the ones that are unflattering. And I mean, I can attest to that. And
I mean, that's all real now. This was not, none of these things were in play when this episode came out. These are all AI chatbots. We all know what chatbots are now.
And that's the one we figured out was like 13 years ago.
Yeah, the AI chatbots, I mean, there's so many different ones out there now. I mean, this has become an issue where people have, you know, killed themselves because of AI chatbots, because they start forming a relationship with these chatbots. And, you know, the voice cloning, there's software out there. I mean, I can even, with some of the software I use to edit our podcast, I have the ability to do voice cloning on there if I wanted to. So I record my voice for a few minutes or 30 seconds or whatever, and then it analyzes it, and then you can make whatever script you want. You can just type it up, and then it sounds like you.
Mm-hmm. That's how we do this whole podcast.
Yeah. And
JK.
then, yeah. So interesting that all of those things you named that are like real world parallels are like real now.
Yeah.
Including the digital avatars of the dead.
Mm-hmm.
People have started to do that, deceased loved ones.
Or if you've seen maybe on your algorithm, your digital twin.
Digital twin. Actors are starting to do that now.
They've done that.
Bruce
and that's
Willis
another Black Mirror episode where an actor like basically sells away their rights.
The NIL, name, image, and likeness.
Ugh.
Yep.
Wild. Okay, moving on. Metalhead, the robot dogs. That episode features deadly robotic dog-like machines. Well, the real world parallel is that Boston Dynamics have robot dogs, military robotics, autonomous weapons discussions. And was it America's Got Talent?
Yeah, one of the contestants on America's Got Talent works for Boston Dynamics with those robot dogs, and she made a whole show out of it where they were, doing all these tricks and stuff, and she had this whole group of them, but literally they were on America's Got Talent.
And I mean, that was obviously technology exists far before it's ever shown to the public eye. So these episodes that are like 15 to 20 years old that they're showing that technology
existing
before. Yes.
It just wasn't in the public sector yet.
Right. And so it eases you into it.
The military, especially the U.S. military, but the military in general, at any given point in time, I've heard it estimated that they're at any given point at least 50, 60, maybe even more than that, 50, 60 years ahead technologically than what the public is aware of. And I fully believe that. Just a quick example of that, 5G, what we all use for our phones, that frequency band, that was a military frequency band like 20 years ago. Like years ago, the military used that. Well, then they upgraded to whatever the next 6G or 7G or whatever the next generation is going to be. And then they sold off that frequency band to all the mobile carriers like Verizon and T-Mobile and stuff. So that's just a perfect modern day example of technology already existing, which makes you wonder, how long has AI been around?
Mm-hmm.
They just unleashed it on the world like what, 4 or 5 years ago? If you remember, all of a sudden you started hearing about ChatGPT and people using it and like, oh, AI, oh, cool. They just unleashed it on the world. And it makes you think, how long?
Oh.
How many movies have already been made that are AI generated that we are unaware of?
Oh, AI generated. Yeah. I thought you were going to say that had AI in it.
Or I guess it had AI in it. Maybe not fully AI generated, but you know what I mean? It's interesting to think about, like, how long has that been around? Cell phones were around a long time before they actually were put out to the public.
My philosophy is that if someone, actually I got a fortune cookie once that said, if you can see it in your mind, you can find it in your life, which is, the law of attraction or, manifestation. But if someone has come up with this and you've seen it in a movie or read it in a book, it's existed somewhere. And if not on this, in this dimension, another, I think, personally.
I agree.
So, okay, enough Black Mirror. You get the point.
Yep.
Like, it's a very interesting show. Real eyes, real eyes, real lies. Okay. Go for it. Let's talk about some surveillance state movies.
All right. So I'm going to list off a bunch of movies real quick. And we will first get into the surveillance state type movies. So these are all the movies that have been programming the public for decades. So Enemy of the State, 1998, Will Smith. Very good movie, by the way. Will Smith and Gene Hackman, I believe. So before mass digital surveillance became mainstream public conversation, that film showed government tracking through phones, satellites, cameras, and databases. So when it came out, it felt paranoid. Now it just feels like a documentary with better lighting. But basically, if you haven't seen it, Will Smith starts blowing the whistle on some stuff with the government. Government comes after him. But it shows all the surveillance tech that they use today that's totally normal in 1998. So another very, very, very good example that I have used many times in conversation is Minority Report. Tom Cruise came out 2002. So that whole movie is about pre-crime and predictive policing, which is currently now it's in like congressional hearings and stuff like that now for them to start utilizing that technology. So personalized ads were also in that movie. That's long before that ever started happening to all of us. Now, we all know, we all have personalized ads, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook or any social media, you're going to get ads on there that are personalized to you.
Right, like we talked about earlier.
Right, exactly. So this was a movie that had that in it. Biometric identification, so your fingerprints, Face ID, all of that kind of stuff. That was all in Minority Report.
Steps.
Yep. So predictive policing algorithms, facial recognition, targeted advertising, all of that stuff in that movie, normal today. So it's not just that they punish crime before it happens. That's not the terrifying part. It's that the system believes that its prediction is more than the person.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where it gets really scary is like, how do you know that if predictive policing, how do you know that person's going to do that for real?
Well, and I think a system functions more black and white, whereas humans, it's not always black and white.
Another good one is Batman, The Dark Knight, 2008. So specifically, there's a scene in that movie where it shows a citywide sonar surveillance system that's using everybody's phones. So there's a scene where Morgan Freeman and him you see all in front of all these TV screens, and they're using this technology that's like sonar technology that uses the signal from everybody's phones to then map out what it looks like. So you can see all their bodies.
We've had testing for that.
Well, they use Wi-Fi now for that. They can use Wi-Fi as like a sonar surveillance where they can it's like they ping some weird sonar thing and they can see everything that's in the house. So that was in The Dark Knight. So that's a really good movie of them showing. The movie frames it as morally dangerous, but it's necessary in an emergency. So they use peace and safety as kind of the excuse. So that's one of the main predictive programming patterns is to create the crisis and then you sell the surveillance as protection. 9/11, Patriot Act, perfect example. All right, let's get into real quick some of the bigger pandemic or biosecurity type movies. Contagion, that was a really big one that gained a lot of popularity on Netflix right when COVID happened.
But the original movie came out in
2011. So it was.
So in 2020, everybody's like, oh, this feels real. Let's watch it.
Oh, yeah. There's this movie that came out 9 years ago. So basically in the movie, a pandemic spreads globally, creates fear, isolation, public health messaging, vaccine rollout, misinformation battles, and social breakdown. So it was essentially like watching COVID, but 9 years earlier. And almost everything all the measures that happened during COVID happened in this movie. So whether you view it as predictive programming or just realistic epidemiological storytelling, Contagion became one of the most rewatched movies during COVID because it had already given people a mental script for pandemic life.
I mean, look at that became a number one watched movie during that time because what
people
you
are
were
like, oh, see, this is
experiencing-
normal.
Yeah,
This was in a movie.
It gives me a sense of normalcy.
Yep.
And that's just, man, you can really like examine that. And wasn't there, which Olympics was it?
2012. I know which one you're talking about with the nurses and the hospital beds and stuff.
Okay, so 8 years prior to COVID pandemic, my dad. Well, okay. Anyway, I was gonna say my dad called it the plandemic, but no disrespect. And he the 2012 Olympics
Mm-hmm.
had, I mean, that gets also into ritual, I think.
Yeah.
Which we'll get into a little bit as we talk about some of that later on. But anyhow, 12 Monkeys.
Yep. Another good one was 12 Monkeys. That one, if you don't remember, that one was Bruce Willis and Brad Pitt. The whole movie is about a virus that emerged in 1996, killed 99% of the global human population. And then the main character is a prisoner in a compound underneath the city, which is protected from the virus. So there's all this like time travel and all this stuff so that he can find a cure and blah, 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 blah. So there's that one, but it shows the collapse of society. It's all about a virus, time loops, institutions losing control because of it, an underground future, which
There's
if anybody
a lot of movies about that.
a lot of underground bunkers being built by all the billionaires over the last 5 to 6 years. Just saying. Another good one, V for Vendetta. That is
I
a
loved that
awesome movie.
Yeah.
So in that movie, there is a bioweapon related backstory, but there's a massive public uprising, but there's a ton of media manipulation, fear politics, fear mongering, government control. That movie is a lot about government control. But you know, what was it? Remember the 5th of November. So one theme just keeps showing up over and over again with these, and that's disease plus fear equals obedience. And that very much sums up this last pandemic and everything. Disease plus fear, complete obedience. So those are some good pandemic and biosecurity type movies. Real quick, let's go through some, go through. I want you to go through some because these are some of the bigger ones. These are the favorites.
Well, reality is prison.
Yeah, reality is prison or simulation theory.
Simulation, yeah. So The Matrix, 1999. And
I love The Matrix.
I'm sure you've heard it said that Keanu Reeves, who starred in the movie, said that The Matrix is a documentary. I mean, from the horse's mouth, okay? But basically, reality is simulated. Humans are batteries or avatars, I would say as well. Like,
well, that's also a commentary on us being drained, humans being drained for taxes, money, energy, all of that.
The system survives because people accept the illusion that there is nothing else. So The Matrix might be the most spiritually loaded predictive programming film ever made because it gave people language for awakening, illusion, control, and a false reality. And man, it's just, that was 1999, and it truly was. I mean, I was, you know, a lot of church folk really loved that movie too because of Neo, you know, paralleling as the Christ in that movie.
Absolutely.
Okay, The Truman Show, 1998. Oh, this is, if you haven't seen Jim Carrey in this movie, it's such a good movie, but a man's entire life is staged as entertainment. Like, he doesn't know it, but everyone else around him knows that it's basically they're watching a reality show of his life, and everything is orchestrated in his life, down to who he bumps to in the on the corner. And he starts noticing some things, basically starts waking up and starts having some realizations. But before social media, this movie showed us a world where private life becomes public content. And now people film their breakfast and call it branding. And I that one had so many deep little nuggets in it, that movie.
Very much. Even other ones that have nothing to do with this conversation, but like the dome. He was living under a dome.
He could literally
where they could control the weather.
They could control the weather. They could control the traffic lights.
He can walk out whenever he wants.
And
essentially
everything is made to believe he can't. That's where he's at, and you don't go beyond.
Woo!
It's having church right there. So They Live. Okay, 1998. This one
No,
I didn't see.
1988.
Oh, sorry, 1988. I meant that. But this one I got excited about talking that I hadn't seen this one until like a few years ago.
Watched
Right
it with your
before
dad.
when he came to visit, the one time they got to come out and see this place with our shop, and he was like, "Oh, you guys need to watch They Live," and so we did. And that one, hidden messages, consumer hypnosis, ruling class disguises, subliminal commands, and so basically, like you would look at something and it was just an advertisement for like a shirt, like a dress, like a high-end fashion place. And he put on these glasses and you would see the word obey or consume or submit. And it was, you had to have the glasses on and you took them off and you didn't see that anymore because it's the underneath, the underlying, the subliminal.
It was also the people looked different too. They looked
like ghouls,
they
right?
looked like dead ghouls
Yeah.
or reptilians in certain instances.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Glory bumps. And so that's basically the revelation of method in sunglasses.
Yeah. If you've ever seen that meme where it shows, because it's a meme now, the main character where he's got the glasses on, and then the second part of the meme is him lifting up his glasses or pulling them down. That's from that movie.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Attention Earth humans, this is not a drill. Your haircut has entered a danger zone. At High Level Design Salon and Barbershop, they specialize in emergency-style corrections, precision fades, cosmic color, beard work calibrated to NASA-level standards. Because honestly, your current look is drifting off course. Zach and Jessica turn the mundane into magic with results that are truly out of this world. Book your glow up before re-entry of highlevel444.com. That's highlevel444.com for services, pricing, and appointments. High Level Design Salon and Barbershop. Houston, we fixed it.
One of my favorite movies, it's on my top, I'd say probably top 5 movies, Free Guy. And that was 2021. And Ryan Reynolds basically starts waking up. He is a non-player character, an NPC. And it's kind of showing you that there's people playing the game and there's people that are just in the loop. They're like maybe an NPC and you got to wait, but that you become aware. Again, it's the glasses. So obviously there's a message about sight. Okay. So you put glasses on, you take them off. Those are your eyes. What are you seeing? What filter are you looking through? Or what are you choosing not to look through? But you're an avatar, life loop, glasses showing real life. He begins to notice that, I can actually play the game. And he starts playing the game and stepping out of his normal loop. And at one point in the movie, he says to another character, life isn't something that just has to happen to you. Mm-hmm. He says that in the movie. It is telling us. And going back to the Matrix, in the last Matrix, he has this monologue where he's saying, go ahead, paint your own rainbow. But 99% of other people want to be told what to do. Like they're putting more and more blatant.
Yeah, it's getting more blatant as time has gone by with all of this predictive programming and revelation of method.
And telling you like life isn't something that just has to happen to you. And yes, you can just look at it all as entertainment, but there are deeper layers, and maybe sometime just put those They Live glasses on and see what else you might be missing. Okay. New, like collapse, chaos, I would say apocalyptic.
Societal chaos, apocalyptic.
Post-apocalyptic
societal collapse.
living.
Yeah. So there's a lot of those movies, but some of the bigger ones. Children of Men was a really good one. Came out in 2006. That's the one with Clive Owen. That one is, the movie is actually set in 2027. And at that point, there had been 2 decades of human infertility, and it's left human civilization on the brink of collapse. And then any asylum seekers are seeking sanctuary in, I think it's the UK, where they're subjected to detention, deportation, and execution by the government. So that one's talking about infertility, which that's a huge thing, is about like world like depopulation and or world fertility numbers have dropped. Immigration camps, militarized society, collapse of hope. That's a good one. Another really good one was Elysium, which I would not mind watching this again. I think you haven't seen Elysium, have you? That's one.
No, I think we started and I fell asleep.
Oh, well, I think we should watch it again. It's actually a really good movie. It's Matt Damon and Jodie Foster. Very good. That one came out in 2013. That is basically about Earth in the future. In the year 2154, Earth is overpopulated, diseased, and heavily polluted. And the planet's citizens all live in extreme poverty on the surface, whereas all of the rich and powerful live on Elysium, which is an orbiting space station just outside Earth's atmosphere. So they have all the luxuries. One of the luxuries in that movie that was long before they started talking about this, in the movie they called them med bays. What do we call them today? Med beds. So med beds are medical devices that can heal any disease or condition. That's a real thing that exists today. Now it is, but it didn't
in 2013.
In 2013. So that's something they use in that movie, but it shows you like it's also a social commentary on like the sharp contrast between the poor and the rich. So that was a good one. Hunger Games. That's one a lot of people know.
When I read that, when the book series, when it first came out, I felt, and this was before I was really a little more aware of some of those happenings. And it was like, it felt like there's something deeper to this. But, go on.
Yeah. I never read the books. I only saw
the
movie. But the Hunger Games the whole thing was a ritualized spectacle for the elites and the wealthy in the movie. The children were sacrificed for entertainment. The districts in the movie were controlled all by one wealthy capital. So that sounds like a one world government.
Or the elite.
So it wasn't just dystopian fiction. It was a ritualized class system where suffering was turned into entertainment. And another fun side note, so you had the Hunger Games where they had all of these people that would give themselves up as, what did they call it? As
tributes.
As tribute from each district for the Hunger Games. Well, now we've got the Patriot Games that are happening here in the United States. I think it's 2 people from every state in the United States going up against each other.
Have you actually heard anything more about that?
They haven't. It was announced.
Okay, I didn't know if it was officially announced.
No date or anything has been announced, but the Patriot Games has been announced.
Okay,
so they haven't announced players or haven't gonna, but it sounds eerily similar.
It's a male and a female
from
athlete
every state.
From every state,
and it's essentially like almost like our own Olympics, but it's just odd that they're calling it the Patriot Games and they're picking a girl and a boy from every state or district.
I don't know the parallels.
I don't know, man. And then The Purge. That whole movie series is crazy. But if you don't know, it's state-sanctioned violence framed as social cleansing. So the whole idea that they mainly explain in the first one is for 24 hours, once a year, there's a 24-hour period where all crime is legal. You can do anything you want without any kind of legal ramifications,
punishments.
So their idea in the movie is that it actually lowers crime for the rest of the year.
Which I see where
you allow
psychology
people
behind that. It's like a rage room.
It's like
like
the
one
whole
big
world
rage
becomes
room?
a rage room, and
Get it out?
for 24 hours, or is it 20? Or maybe is it 12 hours? It might be 12 hours. I don't remember, but an extended period of time, and they allow state sanctioned violence, and they're saying that it's social cleansing. So that's another one, very good example. So that movie asks a pretty disturbing question, which is what happens when morality becomes policy controlled. I don't think it's morality anymore at that point.
Well, and I kind of almost feel like I was thinking about that with when things start to go down and you have raids or
Mhm.
people go and what's the word I'm looking for? Like they go and trash somebody's small business, loot. Like they
Looting.
go and loot and damage property, and
Mhm.
because they feel like it's almost this sense of there's chaos going on,
Mob mentality.
and this isn't the norm, so I have free reign to go ahead and behave. You can't hold me to my normal moral standards because things aren't normal.
Right. Yep.
And I feel like that movie is kind of,
it is, and
it's like giving an allowance for that.
Yeah, exactly. And another really, really good one, Leave the World Behind.
Mm-hmm, which was
that one just came out 3 years ago. Like 2.5 years ago.
And I remember you and I watching that being like, what?
Yeah.
The pile of Teslas just that
the self-driving cars that all, yep.
just wrecked into the same spot,
Mhm.
and there was like a massive pile of them.
Societal collapse. I mean, you saw in the movie, they even, there's scenes where people are like bartering and like trading and stuff because the whole movie was about a cyber attack where basically the internet, I think it's the internet goes down. I don't think it's the power, it's the internet all goes down. So there's a complete communications collapse because of that. There's confusion everywhere. Psychological warfare, uncertainty about who is behind the event. So that movie felt less like a story and more like a mood board for modern anxiety. So that one was a little close to home, that it's like, and then how many cyber attacks have happened even just since that movie? We've had all these random cyber attacks on banks, softwares, digital leak, or information leaks online and stuff.
Sorry guys, your social security number was leaked and hopefully it won't cause any damage.
Yeah. So, all right, we're going to talk about one more movie, and this one we will talk just simply a little bit more in depth because this one is different
and it's
than
wild.
all the other ones because of how all of these other ones we've talked about. It's crazy how long ago some of them were and how long it took for some of this technology or things, policies to start becoming a real thing. This next movie we're talking about, there was a month between when the movie came out and when it actually happened.
Yeah, it's
pretty crazy. So White Noise came out in 2022. It came out on December 30th of 2022, and just over a month later, on February 3rd of 2023, a Norfolk Southern train derailed near East Palestine, Ohio, releasing hazardous chemicals and leading to evacuations and a controlled burn of vinyl chloride. So, what's the eerie part if you haven't seen White Noise? White Noise is about a family in Ohio dealing with an airborne toxic event after a train accidentally releases a chemical cloud. The film was adapted from Don DeLillo's 1985 novel, but the timing of the Netflix release and the real East Palestine derailment made that parallel feel like impossible to ignore.
Mm-hmm.
I remember
you telling me that when that happened.
Mm-hmm, that when it happened, like, dude, there was just a movie that came out called White Noise. And even weirder, some East Palestine residents had reportedly worked as extras in the film. CNN and ABC reported that East Palestine resident Ben Ratner and his family were extras in the movie before later living through a real toxic train disaster in their own community. So you had people that actually were extras in the movie and then it happened to them. So that is one of those examples where, I mean, even skeptics have to admit that the timing is, at the very least, the timing is bizarre. A Netflix movie about an Ohio family fleeing a toxic chemical cloud from a train crash comes out at the end of 22. And then in February 2023, East Palestine, Ohio lives through a real chemical train derailment. That doesn't automatically prove predictive programming, but it absolutely belongs in the conversation.
Mm-hmm,
So,
I mean, I do feel like things are happening faster, though, too. Like, so as far as the parallel between the timing of when that movie was released and then when, it's like almost feels like instant manifestation when it comes down to, you think certain things were in shows and movies like 15 years ago and we're seeing it now, but then that was like, you know.
Well, I think that's partially to do with technology.
Yeah.
Because used to, a long time ago, not everybody had, first off, not everybody had a TV even. Secondly, most households only had one TV. Third, you got to think about how many channels existed back, in the 50s, 60s, even the 70s. There wasn't nearly as many channels or anything as we have today. Now we have entertainment all around us. We have how many streaming platforms, how many channels, we have social media. We can watch all of those things just on your phone. You don't even have to have a TV to watch those kinds of things on your laptop, your computer, your TV, your phone, your iPad. So more people, more eyes are on
more
all
eyes,
of this stuff.
More consciousness.
More minds are seeing these things as opposed to 50, 60 years ago.
Man, it's so weird that I still can't get over the fact that the movie was Ohio and then the exact same incident happened in Ohio.
That's why
and there's
it's one
movie extras. Like what?
That's one of the craziest examples. So the bigger question is not just like, did they know this was going to happen? The bigger question is, why do these scripts keep appearing before the public lives some version of them? Mm-hmm. It's, and with white noise, there's multiple layers. So you've got a fictional train wreck, a toxic chemical cloud. The setting is in Ohio. You had families evacuating. You had media confusion, fear of exposure, uncertainty about long-term health effects, and then people trying to return to normal after something deeply abnormal happened, which also happens all the time now. We're so desensitized as a society that look how, name any number of tragedies that occur now, and it's all over the news cycle and all over social media for like a couple weeks, maybe, sometimes less than that. And then on to the next thing,
Oh, bloody, oh, blood-da. Life goes on.
So that's the other creepy theme in white noise, is not just the disaster itself. It's how quickly society tries to get past the disaster and move on.
Well, and this fits the predictive programming because the public had just watched a cinematic version of a toxic airborne disaster, and then a real world version appeared almost immediately after. So whether this was coincidence, synchronicity, predictive programming, or life imitating art in the creepiest way possible, white noise is one of the strongest modern examples of the exact thing we're talking about. Fiction gives the public the emotional rehearsal. Mm-hmm. Then reality shows up wearing the same costume.
Yep.
So it's kind of like act as if, and then it will manifest.
Yep.
And it also fits revelation of method because the event was symbolically, quote, shown before it happened. And this wasn't hidden in some obscure indie film. This was on Netflix. And it's one of the largest streaming platforms in the world. So I'm not saying every person involved in this movie knew something. Most of them probably didn't. And that's not the point.
A lot of them are just people with jobs.
The point is that the symbolic script was placed into, as we said, the collective consciousness right before the real event happened. And I do feel like especially since 2020, time has sped up. So I do think when things are in the collective consciousness, and like you said, more people, more consciousnesses, individual consciousness have access to entertainment. So there's more people in the collective consciousness like seeing the same thing.
Right.
And then boom.
Boom, it happens.
Boom, it happens.
So those are a bunch of movies and TV shows that we've talked about. But I'm going to briefly run down some books, some very well.
Yeah, because there's books too.
Books are also a form of entertainment too. That's you have fiction and all of that. And for a long time,
Quote,
books.
fiction,
quote unquote. But for a long time, books were entertainment prior to, TVs and radio and stuff. People were reading stories and telling stories to each other. So some of the books that, quote unquote, predicted the world. 1984, let's start off with the big one, George Orwell. Most people have heard of that. If you haven't read it, you totally should. Very, very, very interesting because you will see some themes come up in that movie that sound oddly familiar, like surveillance. Something in the and this book also spawned a lot of terms that we use today. Thought crimes. That had never been used prior to this book. Newspeak. That's like where they're flipping, inverting things like bad is good is bad. In society. Rewriting of history, which we all know. History is written by the victors. History is whitewashed. Constant propaganda. We have constant propaganda today. And then two-way telescreens, which is our phones. FaceTiming. This was all in that. So that novel is widely understood as a warning about totalitarianism, surveillance, manipulation of truth, and state control over individual freedoms. So Orwell showed us a world where control happens through fear, censorship, surveillance, and language. If you can control the words people use, you can control the thoughts they're able to form. So are we living more in Orwell's world where truth is controlled by force? I will give my opinion here in just a second after I bring up the next book. The next book, Brave New World, right up there with 1984. This one is written by Aldous Huxley. This is same idea, but it is slightly different. So in this one, something in this book is called soma. It functions as a tool of social stability by dulling discomfort and replacing reality with pleasure. Pleasure as control, genetic conditioning, social engineering, drugs, distraction, consumerism. So Huxley's nightmare wasn't that they would ban the truth, which is what they did in 1984. They were banning the truth. They were rewriting history, controlling by force. In Brave New World, his nightmare was that people would be too distracted, drugged, entertained, and comforted to even care about the truth.
And I think that is huge because
that's what we live in today. We have so many distractions, drugs, entertainment, and comforts, creature comforts, all of those things that we've become so comfortable as a society. So that's the main difference is 1984 was control by force and totalitarianism, whereas this is more control by
instant
pleasure.
gratification.
Yeah, instant gratification, pleasure as control. So what I was saying is that my opinion, I think we live in a world that is a mixture of these two worlds because there's plenty of totalitarianism. There's plenty of control by force, but we have massive amounts of pleasure as control, with people. So, that answers for me that we're not necessarily just living in Huxley's world, where truth is buried under comfort. I think we're living in that as well as the world that Orwell predicted. So two very, very good books. Another one, Fahrenheit 451, Ray Bradbury. That one sits right up there with 1984 because there's a lot of censorship, anti-intellectualism, anti-individualism, screens replacing relationships, which is happening currently. Very shallow entertainment. I mean, I don't necessarily want to call out any one specific, but we got a lot of shallow entertainment. going on, especially a lot of like the reality TV and stuff like that. Very, Bachelor stuff like that, which it's fine if you watch that. I understand it's
you used to watch that, Zach.
Because of the girl I was with.
Okay.
I had to watch it with her.
Mm-hmm. And Survivor.
I did like Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
I was a big fan of Survivor. So Bradbury was not just warning about like things like book burning. He was warning about a population that stops wanting depth and truth.
Mm-hmm.
And then another one that this one ended up becoming a TV show is The Handmaid's Tale. Margaret Atwood.
Yeah.
So that one is more religious authoritarianism, religious totalitarianism, where it's absolute mixture of church and state, where it becomes almost like a theocracy, like a Christian theocracy in the movie. Reproductive control, language manipulation, ritualized oppression.
Mm-hmm. I remember when that show first came out and we watched it, and I said, this like disturbs me because I can actually see this happening. And one of the things in the show was that they renamed America. What did they rename it? Gilead. They renamed it. And then it was like, oh, all of a sudden, here we are. And we're renaming things in our country. And so it's just kind of like, that's interesting. And then, it does not seem that far out of the realm of possibility because, there's a lot of factors like infertility issues that we have today and the rise of infertility. And then, that's a creepy one.
Very creepy one. So, all right, let's bring up another big one within the entertainment world, and that is the Great X-Files. Love it.
Loved that show. We had started watching it again.
We did. I don't know why we fell off.
I think somebody told us to watch something else, and then we just got distracted. But I wanted to go back and watch it with my third eye open so that I could see what other, when I used to watch it back in the day, I wasn't watching it beyond what was on the screen. But the show repeatedly dealt with themes of alien colonization, government cover-ups, black oil infection or black goo, vaccine development, human experimentation, secret syndicates, all that fun jazz. Fan retrospectives note plot lines involving smallpox and vaccine development against alien colonization threats, as well as Russian and American vaccine-related story arcs tied to the alien black oil. Do you want to go into that black oil?
There's been a lot of depictions. A lot of people call it black goo in various movies and TV shows. The easiest way to describe it is Venom, the movie Venom, or the character Venom from Spider-Man. If you're unfamiliar, he is one of the villains in that show, in that movie. And the way that Brock becomes Venom is there's this black goo. It's the best way to describe it. It is this symbiotic material that is organic, and it basically takes him over completely. Not only does it give him like superhuman strength and abilities, but it also changes his mind too. It basically takes over his mind. And that's the best way I can describe what black goo is.
So black goo has been something that's been across different entertainment platforms.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's just an interesting tidbit. The X-Files basically trained a whole generation to ask, what if the official story is the cover story? Which, I mean,
the official story is
always the cover story. The show made conspiracy investigation mainstream. It blurred fiction and suspicion, which, I mean, there you go. Like,
Truth is stranger
Truth.
than fiction.
It introduced the idea that alien disclosure, biological threats, vaccines, secret government groups, and public deception could all be connected.
They are connected.
So, and their tagline was "The truth is out there." I mean, again,
There they are.
revelation of method.
They're telling you.
They're
the
telling
truth is
you
out there,
that
y'all.
Here, the truth is out there. Okay, it is out there. They're telling you in the show. So, it's kind of like, oh, did the X-Files wake people up, or did it teach people to consume conspiracy as entertainment without doing anything about it?
Mm-hmm.
And there's been a lot of Hollywood with alien disclosure. For decades, movies have shown aliens in almost every possible form.
Mm-hmm.
You've got invaders, you've got saviors, gods, demons, ancient ancestors, government secrets, interdimensional beings, evolutionary guides, existential threats. And
So they've painted them every way possible.
every which way. But so any way you want to shape it, form it, see it, whatever suits your fancy, they've covered it in how it can be.
Is it going to be like Independence Day, or is it going to be like a cute little guy like on
Guide to
E.T.?
the Galaxy. E.T. One of my most prized possessions is a ceramic E.T. that sits on my mantle that I got at an antique mall. I love it. Love him.
Go through some examples.
Okay, so examples: War of the Worlds. There's alien invasion, panic, civilization, helplessness. Then you've got The Day the Earth Stood Still, alien arrival as moral warning to humanity. Then you've got Close Encounters of the Third Kind. There's alien contact as wonder, transcendence, and communication. Also Contact, the movie Contact.
Oh, that was a good one. That
I'm
was a very good
okay
one.
to go.
Mm-hmm.
That was a very good one. Okay, we said it already. E.T., aliens as innocent, loving, and misunderstood. That's the way those are the ones that I want to attract to myself, obviously. Like, I won't misunderstand you, E.T., but I do believe in the extraterrestrial. I believe that you have all different genres.
Just like you have different genres of humans.
Yeah. So like you're going to have your
Mm-hmm.
grays.
Malevolent and benevolent.
Benevolent. And more often than not, the benevolent are essentially protecting,
Mm-hmm.
I believe.
Yep, I agree.
So Independence Day, alien invasion is global unification through military resistance.
Oh, that's such a classic. I love Independence Day.
Mars Attacks, alien invasion shown as a comedic experience.
I love that movie. If you haven't seen Mars Attacks, you should go pull it up, man. It's such a funny movie.
Men in Black, aliens already among us, government secrecy played as comedy.
Michael Jackson's in Men in Black too.
And there you go, too, as comedy.
It was comedy.
Like something to laugh at, Arrival, alien language alters human consciousness.
That was a great one.
Very interesting.
Very well done.
Prometheus.
Oh, man.
That's an alien franchise.
Yeah,
where
that was part of the Alien franchise.
Aliens, creation myths, ancient engineers, humanity as experiment.
Mm-hmm. That was a really good one.
Ancient Aliens blurs spirituality, archaeology, religion, and extraterrestrial theory. And I kind of prefer connects rather than blurs, but Hollywood has been giving us every possible emotional relationship to aliens. Like we said, we fear them, worship them, laugh at them, love them, fight them, unite under one government against them, or accept them as our creators.
Which path will you choose?
I'm going to love them.
That's what Jesus told us to do.
Yeah, love your neighbor.
And they are our galactic neighbors.
Okay, Zach, you can give us some juicy tidbits about Project Bluebeam.
Oh, man. I love this topic. So here's my own, and a lot of other people's opinion, but here's my own opinion as to a big part of a lot of what we're talking about for predictive programming, but also revelation of method, is I believe if you take into consideration the manifestation part of this, is that they're utilizing us, the millions and millions and millions of people around the world, to manifest what they want to happen, but also desensitize us and normalize things. Project Bluebeam. So that is a conspiracy theory associated. I don't believe that it's a conspiracy theory. I've read much into this, and there is much evidence to show that this is a real plan. But it is technically a conspiracy theory associated with Serge Monast. He's a Canadian writer in the 90s. He popularized this theory. So the theory claims that the powerful elites and institutions of the world would stage a supernatural and or extraterrestrial event, basically a fake alien invasion and a simulated religious event to push humanity toward a centralized new world order. So Project Bluebeam, they're going to essentially fake an alien invasion. And I think it's going to be something similar to like Independence Day, where they're going to full on fake like big old ships in the sky.
And how would they fake that? You say, well, have you seen the holographic technology
that exists?
Already aside from, just years ago already, there's holographic
Snoop
celebrities.
Dogg and Dr. Dre did a whole concert with hologram version of Tupac back in 2012.
Didn't one of the Star Wars movies use
There might have been 2016
hologram for?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then what?
Oh yeah. They use that, and then I don't know if any of you've ever seen the clips from around the world, but there's a clip that has been floating around online for a while of a show that they did in Dubai, and it's this footage from outdoors. They're not even in a building; they're outdoors, sunny blue sky, and it shows the holograms they're using. It looks like these like whales swimming in the sky, but they look totally real.
And there was a dragon one too.
There was
that
a
looks like a
dragon
dragon's
one.
flying around, and like everybody's like, oh.
So how would they pull
amazed.
that off? Well, you can do things like that with drones, like they do drone shows and stuff. But also the sheer amount of satellites that cover Earth. Like it is I don't know if you've ever seen this, but you can find this on Google or wherever, the grid of satellites that are just absolutely, completely covering the Earth. They will utilize those same things to essentially, or satellites to beam these holograms and stuff into our skies. So that's how your fake alien invasion happens. I also think it's going to be a simulated second coming of Christ. And or what I've heard, the theory is that depending on where you live in the world is what you're going to see. So if you live in an area of the world where the majority is Christian, you're probably going to see like a second coming of Christ. If you live in a world where the majority is Muslim, you're going to see more of like a Muhammad figure, and on and on down the road. Also, they will use voice of God technology, which is a very real technology that is used. It is sonic technology where they beam essentially they can beam anything into your brain, and it sounds like you're hearing it in your brain. So it could be music, it could be somebody talking. So voice of God technology, it'll sound like to everybody that God is talking to them. So this is how they will push humanity toward a centralized new world order. We've heard that term for years, decades now. Presidents have used that term in their speeches. And Reagan once famously said that the only way we would be able to unite the world is if there was some sort of external threat. That's the only way that at that point, if there's an alien something or other, invading our planet, then we all cease being Chinese, Russian, American, Mexican. We're just earthlings or humans at that point because we're all uniting. That's the only way they're going to be able to have that one world government, one world currency, all that kind of thing. So recent drone and UAP discussions have revived this Project Bluebeam discussion online, especially when people feel that the official explanations are vague or unsatisfying. So I don't know if you remember the New Jersey drone sightings that happened about a year and a half ago. There was people all over New Jersey seeing these drones, and they could not tell if they were drones or if they were like aliens or something. But the reporting around all of those sightings noted that the theory resurfaced on social media despite officials saying that there was no evidence of like a national security threat at the time. I don't believe that. I think something was going on, but it
just wasn't time yet.
It just wasn't time yet. So all of that to say that I think that Project Bluebeam or something like that is a huge part of all of this alien stuff that we were talking about on TV and entertainment, is they're priming all of us for something like that.
I don't know.
But again, that's my opinion.
But I know. And I guess part of me is like, when something becomes mainstream enough that a lot of people know about it, like, can that still be used, or like, I mean, people are going to be like, wake up or be privy to the fact, that, I don't know. I guess I don't think that every light in the sky is fake.
No.
And I definitely don't think aliens are fake. But if there ever was a perfect psychological tool to unite the world under one emergency system, like you said, Reagan said, a global alien threat would be the Super Bowl of fear-based control.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, do you remember, was it last Super Bowl or 2 Super Bowls ago, and you were talking about Project Bluebeam to Raina and Steven.
Oh, yes.
And like thinking that there was enough things happening that you were like, oh, it could be.
It could happen during the Super Bowl.
The Super Bowl would be a good time for it to happen. Everybody's watching it.
Yep.
But yeah,
I did have a
don't
prediction.
even get me started on the Super Bowl and the
superb owl.
Okay. I was okay, you got me distracted. But anyway, what does every alien invasion movie teach us? Humanity must unite, borders must dissolve, militaries must coordinate, and centralized authority becomes necessary
In the name of peace and safety.
And the individual becomes irrelevant because the threat is planetary.
Yep, just like I said. So you're no longer American, Chinese, Russian, blah, 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 blah. You're a human. You're an earthling.
Which is...
It's not bad, but they're going to utilize that.
In some aspects, that's what we want, but in other aspects...
They're inverting it, though. They're using that against us.
And I don't think...
Unity as a form of control.
It's right. It's not... It's more like you as an individual... Like, sorry, we don't give a shit. Yeah. This is about the all at this point.
Collective.
The collective, one world.
Mm-hmm.
So if the public has been trained for 70 years to imagine alien contact as either salvation or invasion, how easy would it be to steer the emotional response when disclosure finally happens?
Exactly.
And speaking of disclosure, okay, there's a movie coming out very soon called Disclosure.
Yep, new Steven Spielberg movie.
First of all, just saying it, like with all the disclosure talk in the recent years, and sometimes things are tested as well. Like they throw it out there and see like how much can we get away with, or how much are people, as my dad always said, play attention. How much are people paying attention? Like, play, but also pay attention. Listen to your music, but listen to what the lyrics are saying. And I mean, music is a whole nother one. We've only been going down the road of, what you're watching, but what you're listening to, like we're talking about saying the same thing over and over. Hypnosis. We're talking about the frequency of the song. We're talking about the binaural beats behind it. Like they're, again, play attention. Like, have fun, listen. Not everything is a deep, dark, scary hole of the abyss and what do I do now? That is why your inner and connecting to within and your heart and connecting your heart and your mind is so important, because truth resonates in the body. Mm-hmm. And so when some stuff's coming out, it's just like, oh, or like Zach and I, when we watch something, we look at each other and, because we pick up something and
Kids
it's
get
like,
annoyed.
and we're still watching the movie. We're still being entertained, but we watch it with real eyes
Mhm.
so that we can, glean also from it. There's a lot to it, within music and within imagery, the symbolism, imagery,
They say
ritual, and
symbolism will be their downfall.
so like we'll talk about some of the symbolic layer, and often entertainment contains, one eye symbolism.
That's a huge one. That's something you can go search on Google. There's pictures of almost every celebrity you can think of in mostly photo shoots, where at one point or another they're covering one of their eyes. That is intentional. That is not just some cool thing that the photographer is like, here, do this cool shot with your. It would be that if you saw it every now and then,
Mm-hmm.
but everybody has done that at some point. So that's a big one.
Your homework is to Google one eye symbolism and see what comes up.
And just see. Also, what's on the dollar bill?
Mm-hmm.
You have that one eye at the top of the pyramid, the all-seeing eye.
Mm-hmm.
That's ties directly into the one eye symbolism.
Checkerboard floors.
That is Masonic symbolism there. Every Masonic lodge, their floors are checkerboard floors.
Pyramids.
That's just obvious. That's the pyramids.
Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of, it stems back. Like
Esoteric. Yep. What do we have on our dollar bill? A pyramid.
Occult hand signs.
Those are everywhere.
Yeah, which is like an example.
So a lot of the ones that it's a meme at this point. It's a joke, but you've seen like Jay-Z, a lot of rappers and stuff, they'll put their hand in the pyramid, the triangle.
The triangle.
There's a lot of that within the rap world specifically. I don't know why, but there's a lot in the music industry. But occult hand signs, you're going to see a lot of politicians use them. Our presidents, they all use them. You can see them in pictures and in videos with them. And this is not just our own. I'm talking about politicians from around the world. These are occult hand signs, the way that they sit with their hands. You'll notice a lot. I'll just use this as one example you guys can just look for whenever you see. If you ever see like our president or other presidents sitting together and you can see their hands while they're sitting, a lot of times their hand is going to be in the shape of like an upside down triangle. And it just looks like they're just holding their hands like this, But once you start seeing a lot of them do that, there's a reason they do that. A lot of this is Masonic ritual. They have hand symbols. Anybody that knows anything about Freemasons, symbols are huge for them. So they use hand symbols and hand gestures, handshakes. You've got pictures of I don't remember what it means, but one hand inside their coat. Like that's a symbol, that person's a Mason. So they'll put one hand, they'll take a picture and they'll have one hand inside of like their coat jacket, but only one hand. There's pictures of all of our presidents doing that. Everybody from George Washington up to Trump. There's pictures of Joseph Stalin, Churchill, all of them. Pictures of that. That's a sign that they were all Masons. So this is Masonic symbolism.
So then you've got ritual sacrifice themes, red, blue duality. Again, the Matrix, red pill, blue pill.
Democrat, Republican, red and blue. They really also separate. These colors have meaning as well. We're not going to get into that. Colors also have a meaning as well.
Black and white duality.
Yep.
Mirrors, portals, Saturn or time symbolism.
Saturn was the god of time.
Monarch, butterfly symbolism.
That is Project Monarch, which is one of those very similar to like MK Ultra, a mind control government project that is still in use today. A lot of times you'll see artists that'll have butterfly symbolism, and it typically points to Project Monarch or that they were a subject of Project Monarch. A lot of it's typically like the women that they refer to them as sex kittens, but like some of like these women that are under this. They put off, a lot of times it's singers or actresses that put off on like this hypersexual visuals in their pictures and stuff like that. That's a lot of times you'll see butterflies somewhere in those pictures.
Celebrities as ritual archetypes, death, rebirth imagery, apocalyptic imagery, and inverted religious imagery. So even if someone says it's just art, the question is, though, why does the same symbolic language repeat across music videos, award shows, fashion, movies, and political spectacles?
Exactly.
You
That's
start
the question
looking and
again.
paying
Like,
attention, you start seeing a pattern. You start seeing these repetitive things.
yes.
So speaking of repetition, a ritual is not just candles and robes. It's repeated symbolic action with intention. Going back to like the Olympics and the opening ceremonies of the Olympics, it was like large, like
it was like a large ghoul that had, and then they had like large like needles. They had a pathogen, or like a virus or a pathogen. They had all these nurses with hospital beds dancing. Like, it was weird.
Like, you can look this up, the
weird.
opening ceremonies for the Olympics
2012
of 2012.
Yeah.
So if that's not
Perfect example.
programming and revelation of method.
And then what happened 8 years later?
8 years later, like, that's just kind of very creepy. So media can become ritual when millions of people focus attention on the same images, the same fears, and the same emotional scripts. And if attention is energy, which it is, where attention goes, energy flows, then the mass media is one of the largest energy harvesting systems ever built. Like, I mean, there we said it. It's an energy harvesting system, and that energy is what co-creates different things in our reality. And if we're focused on negative and we're focused on dark and we're focused on fear, we are going to experience fear. We are going to experience darkness. We're not going to experience a utopian, like, where everyone's kind of living their best life. We're going to experience individual, the degradation of society, like we're seeing right now.
Yep.
Because that is what's perpetuated. But I don't want to going back real quick to that movie Disclosure. When we were sitting there watching the preview for it,
yep.
You remember, so we were watching the new Michael Jackson movie, and the preview for Disclosure came on, and there was this weird, she starts speaking, one of the actors starts speaking in like an alien language, and it's like, all of a sudden, my pineal gland or third eye, I started feeling a pressure in it, hearing that. And then I looked to Zach and I almost didn't say anything because what a weirdo. And then I looked at him, I said, dude, I felt like my third eye when that language was going on. And he was like, so did I. And I was like, did you really? Because it was like, what is that? And like, I'm excited to see it, but I'm also like, what? You don't know what you're actually sometimes getting into and what you are essentially consenting to. Which I'm going to make a t-shirt that says, I do not consent. So that you can find that in our t-shirt shop down the road. So all this, like the energy harvesting, comes down to,
it's all about the loosh,
which is energy. And part of this theory is that, the elites, as we said earlier, understand the creative power of the human mind.
They know all of these things, these universal concepts, principles,
universal laws that we are all capable of honing in on and utilizing for our lives.
They use that against us.
It is used against us. And so they put their desired future into the collective imagination. Millions watch it, feel it, fear it, talk about it, meme it, and emotionally rehearse it. And then in a spiritual sense, we participate in manifesting it.
Exactly. So from a psychological perspective, you don't even have to believe in manifestation for this to matter. That's what I said earlier, is that whether you believe that this is purely psychological or that it's spiritual or that it's both, it doesn't matter. Because if enough people are conditioned to expect a future, they may become less resistant when that future appears. So that's the other part of this too, is that it's the desensitization, the normalization of certain ideas or concepts or events or what have you. But if you're conditioned to expect that future, at the very least, you're going to be much less resistant when that future appears. So that bridges the spiritual side of this, but also the psychological side of this as well. So it doesn't matter what you believe this to be. At the end of the day, there are too many examples and quote unquote coincidences for people to just, for you to just not realize there's something going on there, no matter what you believe this is. So this is also where we're giving consent. Comes back to revelation of method. You consented because we told you what we were doing, and you just went along with it. You didn't question it. So this karmic ramifications are involved here as well. I want to give a quick counterpoint to what we're saying, because we like to talk about both sides of any given conversation. We're not going to sit here and tell you this is true, this is true. We're going to let you do your own research and find out for yourself, and we'll give you our own opinion on it. But I want to give a quick counterpoint of, could all of these instances within movies and TV shows and entertainment, could that just be good writers reading the room? You know, writers are cultural pattern readers at the end of the day. The great writers studied power and history and technology and human behavior. So it could be that. Science fiction does often inspire real science. Star Trek was a wonderful example of that.
Whatever. Real science inspires science fiction.
Yeah, I agree with that. Engineers grow up watching sci-fi and then build versions of what they saw. Mm-hmm. You know, get nerdy engineer kids that end up building something they saw.
They end up building a spaceship because they watch Star Trek.
Yep.
Sure.
The Simpsons made literally hundreds of predictions. So if a show runs long enough and jokes about everything, some jokes will overlap with reality eventually. The Simpsons showrunner Matt Selman has said specifically that if you study history and math, it would be nearly impossible not to predict some things. He's probably right about that. I'm not going to discount that the Simpsons is just some sort of magical modern day Nostradamus. You know, I don't think that's necessarily the case. I do think there is some predictive programming and revelation of method involved there, but that is a good point, that if that show's been on for 37 years. Mm-hmm. So it's been long enough that eventually some of those jokes are going to overlap with reality. So that makes sense, you know. Also, people remember hits and forget all of the misses. So confirmation bias. Mm-hmm. So people are, they're going to remember the times that this prediction was correct. Most people are not going to remember all the times that it wasn't correct. Mm-hmm. And then some predictions are exaggerated after the fact. So a vague scene from this movie gets reframed as a specific prophecy. I'm sure that happens.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of these that we brought up are
most
legit.
of them are pretty big.
Like
we didn't bring up small indie films that nobody's seen, but we brought up major blockbusters. So, even if all of that is true, the effect is still real. Whether it was planned or accidental, the public was still conditioned at the end of the day. We still saw the future before it arrived.
Mm-hmm. Another thing, too, something I thought about was like just, pushing a particular narrative. And I remember a specific Dr. House episode where it was, I think, around the time where there was a lot of controversy about vaccines, and that you had your anti-vaxxers and you had your vaxxers and the House episode was going on about, like, they had a whole thing about, she wasn't vaccinated, this is why she went down, and then the entire episode kind of based, and it was at a time where that was a prevalent discussion in the real world. So it
Mhm.
felt very, I remember
Targeted.
And I remember watching it after the fact and kind of being like, oh, that's interesting.
Pushing it pretty heavy.
Yeah, pushing. So
So let's kind of start wrapping this up and talk about like how to watch all of the, this
so
media
like we
without
said,
being programmed.
like we said, as Obi-Tom Kenobi always said, play attention. And so that's have fun, but pay attention, you know? And so how can you watch media without being programmed or without just unconsciously understanding and being aware of what it's doing to your being? Don't watch it passively.
Rule number 1.
Yeah,
sure.
don't watch passively. Like, what future is this normalizing? You know, you can ask who benefits if I accept this? What emotion is this trying to generate? You know, what is this making me feel? Is this making me feel fear? Is this making me feel happy? Is this warning me, mocking me, or preparing me? And what symbols keep repeating? And okay, yeah, sure. So you sit there and you're like, well, what am I going to do about it? You are aware. Like everything says, the first step is admitting that there's a problem. The awareness of something means that you can, if you are unaware that you are being attacked, it will just hit you. You will just go down. If you are aware that there is an attack on the horizon, you can prepare and you can just be a little more diligent to say, I'm not going to let this affect me. I'm not going to
make a conscious decision.
Or just say, I don't consent. I do not consent.
Mm-hmm.
So watch the pattern, not just the plot. The plot is the candy coating. The pattern is the medicine, or in some instances, the poison. So you see a pattern in all these. You know, I looked up how many apocalyptic movies are there? Post-apocalyptic movies. And it was just like, there are hundreds upon hundreds. It wouldn't even give a number because it's like, there are so many movies where we're living in a dystopian society. And I just believe that it does not have to be where we're headed.
I mean, there's a brand new show out now called Fallout based off the game series. And that whole series is based off of the world.
Look at how many. If you go on Netflix or anything and you put in apocalyptic
apocalyptic thriller,
like look at how many options you get.
Yep.
You know, and I don't know. I mean, I don't have a underground bunker yet, so I don't know about that. I did see how you can turn like a pool. Facebook showed me, like, it was AI, but it was like, you can turn a pool into an underground, just like a tiny house underground bunker. But anyway, so don't just watch the pattern and then notice emotional rehearsal. If a movie makes you rehearse fear, compliance, helplessness, distrust, or dependency, pay attention to that. You know, I mean, sure, you can say it's just entertainment. But what does entertainment mean? Like when the etymology, controlling the mind. Okay. So reclaim your imagination. If the imagination is powerful enough to be programmed, it is also powerful enough to be reclaimed. So you can stop lending. We can stop lending our consciousness to every dystopian future they put on the screen. And I do feel that is a very big theme that's like flooded our entertainment.
Dystopian future?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then when you think about the collective consciousness, all of us are focused on a dystopian future. It's coming, guys. It's coming. Are you prepared? Then that is what will come. But if we stand up and, as the Gospel of Mary states, do not focus on the darkness of the world, but focus on calling in the light within you. and we focus on that, and we watch that movie and we're like, oh, did you see that? Oh, did you hear that? Oh, there it is. And then you move on. You go on with the rest of your day.
Mm-hmm.
You go get something to eat. Maybe you talk about the movie, and then you just move on with your Monday morning loop.
And the more you do it, the more aware you become, the more you open your eyes, and the more easily you start to recognize the patterns.
And I think one of the biggest things, I guess, takeaways that I would like to say is that just pay attention to what you're ingesting, not even like, what are they trying to tell us, or what am I consenting to? But how does this make me feel? Does this make me feel fearful? Does it make me feel creepy? Does it make me feel sad? Like, is that how you want to feel? I don't I'm not afraid to feel sad if I do feel sad, but I don't want to watch something to make me feel like the kids try to get me to watch that little monkey Punch. I think is that his name? Punch. That was such a sad, and it's like, oh, this little monkey gets beat up, and it was on social media, and I'm like, I don't want to watch a little monkey get beat up
by other monkeys.
By other
by
monkeys.
The way, it wasn't
Sorry,
like a
yeah,
monkey being beat by a person.
No, it's a monkey getting beat up by other monkeys. He wasn't accepted at first, and I was like, no, I am not watching that. And then my daughter was like, okay, well, what about this one where he gets pushed, but then the other monkey hugs him? I'm like, I'll watch that one. So it's like, I just, I want to protect. There's so many other things out there disrupting our peace that, like, do we need our entertainment and our music and all that to invoke it in us? I sure don't want it.
All right, so maybe predictive programming is real. Maybe it's partly real. Maybe some of it's coincidence, some of it's brilliant writing, some of it's spiritual disclosure, and some of it's psychological conditioning hiding in plain sight. But one thing is undeniable. The stories that we consume shape what we believe is possible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If you show a society the same future enough times, surveillance, digital identity, social credit, AI replacement, endless war, alien threat, medical control, collapse, and centralized authority, eventually that future stops feeling shocking. And maybe that is the real spell. Not that they showed us the future, but they made us believe we couldn't choose a different one.
Mic drop. Well, I'm not going to drop this mic.
Yeah, please don't. As always, today's episode has been brought to you by High Level Design Salon and Barbershop. If you need a crispy fade or a custom designed color because you're feeling a little out of sorts, need a little pick-me-up, you can check out our website, highlevel444.com, to get in on some booking, check all our information. All that's on there, pictures of our work. We also have our High Level t-shirt shop. I wanted to say, I haven't said previously, all of those designs are actually done by us. They were ideas by us, or maybe my dad, or someone, and designed by us. And so not just picking up t-shirts and throwing them on our little market, we're actually creating those, and those purchases just go towards helping continue us do the Lord's work. My friend the other day said, I feel like you guys are doing the Lord's work. And it was a huge compliment to me.
Standing on business.
Yeah. So anyhow, it's kind of like wear the message. They're fun shirts. A lot of them coincide with some of our episodes. And
check out the recommendations page.
Recommendations
as well. High level
page.
Recommendations. We have recommendations for all the books. If you ever hear us talk about certain books or authors on the show, products that we use in the shop, in the salon and barber shop. So the stuff that we use and read, and this
supplements that work for us.
All of this stuff on there. We're not paid by any of those companies. Those are all things that we use ourselves on a daily basis and we are Amazon affiliates. So we do get a small kickback when you use the links that we have on there to purchase any of those. That is simply just to help out the show.
But it's no additional cost to you.
No additional cost to you. But those are all real things that we use and trust. So check out all of those also on highlevel444.com.
If you have any questions or comments about today's episode, that you throw us an email, Zach and Jess at highlevel444.com, and ZACHJESS, Zach and Jess. And we would be happy to chat with you. And we just really appreciate you listening and taking your precious time to hear what we have to say, what we've gleaned, helping raise the consciousness of the planet. When we teach, we learn, and when we learn, we teach. And so I think it's one big symbiotic relationship.
Agreed. Until next time.
We leave you in the love and the light of the one infinite Creator.
May the Force be with you.
And also with you.
High Level Hairesy.